Hi, I'm Professor Nancy Ostroff of the Fashion Merchandising Management Department.
And I'm Professor Marion Weston, Reference Librarian from the FIT Library.
And we're here to show you how to use the forecast databases that are available in the FIT Library in order to do your projects.
So we're going to go first to databases and select the database style site. It's listed alphabetically here under the letter S, or we can do subject or type, pick our fashion forecasting database subject area, and pick style site from the list. First log in using your regular FIT login. And then you have to, the first time you use it, create a new account. Use those directions that we just saw to do that. And if you're a returning user, as I am, I'm just going to reactivate my account. I use my whole FIT email address. And my password. I have to agree to the terms.
Now we're going to create what we call a storyboard. What this really is a presentation board which you would use in the fashion industry. For example, if you were working in a showroom where they sold apparel or accessories, a retail store buyer, account executives, management. This could be any portion in the line of development. This could be color, fabric, trend inspiration. It could be the final line, all the croquis or the styles when they're finished. This could be used for a variety of purposes. In this case, to make it simple, we're going to show you how to develop a color palette storyboard. We have already done the research in preparation for this. This is not a demonstration of how you should do research. This is already done. This is basically for technical purposes to show you how to use the tools available to you in Style Site and the process of creating a presentation board. In the past, presentation boards were only dimensional. They were only made in 3D on foam core boards, but we're so lucky because we have the resources over the past few years and through the FIT library to use Style Site among other fashion forecasting services that will allow us to create digital boards, which will really make your presentation boards look very, very professional.
There are other fashion forecast databases available through the FIT library that also have some tools, and some of them do allow you to make boards as well. So we're using Style Site, and this is a very practical demonstration of how to do it. We're going to start with my workspace. We have to wait a minute for it to connect. Okay, it's opening. Now, because I'm logged in, notice over here you could see Welcome Marion. So I know that I'm logged into my account. That is opening with my own folders, my recent folders all listed right here, and all my folders listed here, as well as shared folders. These are other FIT student folders. So one thing to remember is you're on a public space here and saving your work to a public space. You're logged in, so you're going into your own folders and your own workspace, but back up your work. So you may want to save things to a flash drive or your other student accounts to back it up. We're starting first with a new folder over here. I'm going to open a folder for this project. I'm clicking right over here on new folder, and I'm going to name my folder. And because it's for this particular project, I'm going to name it first with my own name so I could find it easily listed in shared folders if I need to, or tell someone to look for it. And then I'm going to call it Color Trends Project. And click on OK. This becomes my active folder. So as I work today, items will go into this new folder. Right now it has 0 in it. I haven't added anything to it. Now we're going to start looking at some of the areas for getting color information. So I go to my menu here, and I'm going to pick Forecast. And I want from fall winter 2013, I'm going into color.
Now remember, when you're making the storyboard, in order to really establish a trend, you need multiple sources. In our case, since we're really just showing how to create the board, we're not going to do the backstory and show you where we got our information. But you can be sure that we saw this, the same colors, in multiple fashion forecasting databases. We will show you a similarity of one other for an example, but remember, you cannot just take it off of one database and say, okay, this is a trend. You need to see trends in multiple sources, just like the forecasting services do. When they go out, they see these colors, if you're talking about color or styles, in multiple places before they can say something is a trend. Remember, a trend is a pattern, and in order to validate a trend, you need to see that trend in multiple places.
So we're looking first at this key colors for fall winter 2013 page. Just this page alone might be inspiring.
You can use this as an inspiration picture, but remember, it's almost like you have to back into the inspiration picture. You can use this on a board as your inspiration, but you need to establish that all of these colors that are actually in the inspiration picture are trending or applicable to your line. That's the other key. You have to make sure that the colors that you're looking at really apply to the clothing, the particular category of merchandise that you're developing.
Now, if I wanted to put this in my folder, thinking that it might be a good piece to put on my board, I have several tools over here that I can use. One is View More Images. The next one is Add to Folder. Sorry, it's not showing you Add to Folder. I can print it. I can download it as a PDF. This last tool over here is just to select a language. If I want my instructions to be in a different language than English, English is the default, I'm choosing English. If I hit this Add to Folder, which I'm going to do this first time, it's going to open with this little Add Content to my workspace. It's listed my first folder, not the one that I just established, so I'm just going to change this to my Marion Color Trend project, and I'm going to save this into my new folder. And the item is saved successfully. And then I'm going to go here and look at the next page for a moment.
So here you see a variety of berry colors. Let's say you were doing a spring line of bottoms, of pants. You would not use all three of these colors in the same palette for pants. You would not have pants in all three of these colors. Why? Because they're too similar. It looks as though if you used all three, you might not have been able to make up your mind. What this is really showing you is these are some of the colors in the palette. You might use the top one and the bottom one. Maybe you use one in your top weights and one in your bottom weights, but you probably wouldn't offer both of those unless you had a huge line. Like, for example, stores that have t-shirt colors in many shades. Well, maybe then you would have the first one and the third one, but you probably wouldn't have all three of these because they're a little bit too similar.
Don't forget to read the text, which can sometimes give you some ideas of other places to look for validating images that are similar. Each time we do something, we're going to throw these things into our folder so we can come back to them when we put together our storyboard. I want to show you what the difference is between adding to folder this page and View More Images. The View More Images, my folder, notice here I'm back in my workspace and I'm just going to make my open folder be this color project. And you can see here that I have two things in my folder already. What it put in my folder when I hit Add to Folder, it put in that whole page as one piece. When I instead choose the View Related Images, it gives me each image on that page separately. So if I really only wanted the image of the painting, I can take just that one piece into my folder by just pulling it down. So view more images gave me each image separately, and add to folder gave me the whole page added to the folder. Another piece of color information, my color premiere report. And here I'm going to start to look at one of the 4 stories that are presented for this season, the fall-winter 2013 season. One of the stories is called Marvel.
I thought that this would be a very good example because this is very indicative of where we're going for fall-winter 13. It applies to women's, juniors, children's, and the colors are very obvious. They're very clear, and this is a nice inspiration picture.
And because it is, putting it right into my folder.
And we will use some of those colors in our palette, but probably not all.
Here, if we go to the next page, we actually see the color palette that they have picked out for this story, Marvel.
This looks like a nice palette for juniors or children's wear. Some of these colors obviously would not be right for certain products, and that as a merchandiser is something that you're going to have to determine.
They have picked just 2 of those berry type colors, just the way you mentioned. And again, because we want to do our storyboard made up from the images that we're seeing here, notice that they have given me this really broken down. They didn't give me the choice this time of putting in the whole page. So I am going to take the mood piece right here, and I'm just going to pick out a few of these colors. I may not take all of them, just starting to think about some colors. In fact, I'll take one of the yellows and blue.
Not all colors in a color palette are meant to be used. The easiest way to think about this would be, would you have a t-shirt line in every one of these colors? Probably not, because some are too similar. Some colors might be, let's say you were making pants, some of these colors might not be good bottom weight colors, but they might be good for stitching or details or buttons or ribbons. If you were doing children's wear, there might be another type of embellishment, a bow, a rose. So many different type of details. The thread color could be used. Some of the colors are meant to be more for accents. You would use this palette differently if you were just doing t-shirts than if you were doing pants or skirts or dresses.
This mood page combined with something we found in Fashion Snoops. And here we're in Fashion Snoops. I'm going to go to ladies. I'm going to go into Visionary, which is a look up to 2 years ahead. Here we have the fall winter trends. I'm going to look at the Snow Queen. And here we have this mood page for the same season.
And you can see how similar the colors are in here. And when you see something like this, this should reassure you. This should make you feel like, oh yes, I'm on track here. More than one of these sources is using similar, they may not be the exact same, but the mood is the same. And you want to see that some of the colors, let's say some of that like very light teal color on the sides, the plums or light purples, the variations in those shades, you can see the mood is the same and some of the shades are the same, and those are the ones that if they are applicable to the product that you're developing or merchandising, those are the colors that you want to pick out and use and that you could feel comfortable doing that with because you see it in more than one place.
We're going to go now into Megatrends. Each of these reports, color starts about 2 years ahead of season.
This gives you the feeling that here it says the explosion of creation in the 1960s returns. So this is telling you these are inspired by 60s colors. So you're getting the feeling already 60s. You may use some of these colors, you may use all of them for different things. For example, you could put the gray and the tan could be pant colors. The pink and the colors might be top t-shirt or blouse colors.
And I'm just taking a few of these to put in. So we've added in some things into our folder, and now we're going to look at another tool we can use in Style Site. So we're going to go to something called Color Play. Color Play allows you to make your own color card. And you can both take a color that you've seen and type in the number. So here we have this color right here. It has a Pantone number right on it, and I'm going to search for that color. And here you can see it's found the color. Right there, that's my color. It's called Rutabaga. And I'm just going to slide this into my color card. I can change my color library. I can go into forecast colors down here. I can pick Fall Winter 2013. I can pick my story Marble, which is what we were looking at, and look at the textile colors for Marble. Here's that pink that I want from my palette. Here's the blue that I saw that I like so much in that page right here.
And what's good about this is that it allows you to take some of the colors. You don't have to take everything you see in the palette. Not everything in every palette is going to be appropriate for your line.
I have ways to handle the color card. I could start a new card. I could add notes to this card. I could print my card. I could email it. I can save it, and I can add it to my folder. Adding it to my folder or saving it are the two useful things. I have a completed card here that I'd like to find. This is the card. This actually matches all of the colors that I saw on this. I put this together. It's actually a card made up of these colors, which I really like a lot. And I'm going to use this in my folder, so I'm adding it to my folder. Yes, that's my current folder, the Trend Project, and that's the one I want to add it to. Now, there's another feature that I like a lot to use in Style Site, and that's a new feature called Clip. It's fairly new. When you click onto Clip, it actually opens with the instructions, and it tells you how to take a clip and add it to your bookmark toolbar. I'm going to slide this up into my toolbar up here. Yep, there it is, Clip to Style Site. Now I'm going to show you how to use it. So I am going to go on to another one of our databases. This one is the Vogue Archive database. So under V in our database is Vogue Archive. This is American Vogue, every issue from 1892 to current. They're scanning the entire issue, so you have every piece of the issue in there, from the advertisements to the editorial and fashion spread pages to the articles and text. And the nice thing about it is it's so completely searchable. It's wonderful. I can look for recent color inspiration, thinking that the runways may already show what's going to happen ahead of time. So I'm going to go into advanced search. I'm going to put in the word colors. It's just a really broad term. I can certainly search for more specific terms like dresses or pink. I mean, I could put in particular shades. I'm going to pick a date range in this case. I'm just going to search the last 12 months. And I'm going to ask for specific kinds of document types. I'm going to ask for it to be a fashion shoot. And I'm going to pick the document feature. I'm going to pick a photo. I really want photos of fashion shoots. And because sometimes you get so many hits, just so you know, I'm going to change my items per page to 100. Here's something to remember with any database you use. Look at the database choices. Look at advanced search. See how you can focus your search more accurately to make your results better. So here I've picked a number of ways to do that, and I'm just going to search and let it work for me. It is giving me choices where I can narrow my results. I have 25 hits. Seems like I should find something useful there. And what I'm going to do is just look at this number 8 as we at page 3 here. Here's my image. And I just thought when I looked at this particular shot, it reminded me a lot of the images that I had seen color-wise, would you say?
Absolutely. This is very close to both the Marvel and the Fashion Snoops shots of color inspiration pictures. So now you have a third source of validation.
I would like to put this into my storyboard, so I'm going to select Clip to Style Site. And it's telling me to click on the image I want to add. There's the image. The image appears right here. My folder is open, my active folder, Marion Color Trends Project. I'm just going to add it in. And it's been added. When I go back to my images here. I don't see it yet in my folder because I have to reload the page to see everything in here. So I know it's in my folder, and my folders are opening, and there it is. So now what we're going to do is go to, and we're going to actually put together our storyboard from the images that we've collected. So you can hit try it now. We actually want a new project. I'm going to skip the instructions right now, and I'm going to go into create a storyboard. It opens with my most recent project right here, in my most recent folder right here, Trends Project. It only has 17 images. It should have more. So what I'm going to do is take my images and start to put in the ones that I really like for this storyboard. I want a few mood pieces.
And as you're doing it, you may decide that some of the things that you selected you may not want to use, and that's okay too.
I'm going to resize things.
It's probably better to take too much than too little. You don't want to start making your storyboard until you have enough information. But you don't need to feel compelled to use everything you select. And this is just one of the purposes for using the storyboard, is to create a color board. We use this for the purposes of demonstration to illustrate something kind of simplistic. But of course you can use this to create boards about fabric, a full runway, full style, your collections. There are a variety of reasons that you might want to create a storyboard, otherwise known as a presentation board.
So I can be adding things. I can also add in the individual colors if I prefer. And I'm just going to add in a little bit of text. I'm going to call it my
color board Fall Winter 13 for the purposes that all of you will be using it for. You may want to come up with something more creative. When you're creating a theme board, you're going to name it simply just the way that they did here. You might want to say Megatrends or Marvel or Waterfall, depending on what your instructor tells you and what, the objective of the assignment, or in industry, the objective for making the board. You want to make it very concise and clear what your message is.
Don't forget to save your work.
And remember that we did a lot of the research before we started our storyboard. We didn't want to take the time on this particular video to show you all the research. We do have another video that we did before this where you can see the process of doing the forecast research. However, this is really just to show you the actual process of creating the board. But when you do it, you need to do all the research first.
And spend the time on getting it exactly the way you want it. We've done it very quickly here. There are some instructions on the research guide, the fashion and trend forecasting research guide, available through the library homepage.
And then if you have further questions, you can either ask your instructor or contact a librarian.
Yes, absolutely.